We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
We no longer live in a world of nations and ideologies, Mr. Beale. The world is a business, Mr. Beale.
Go on without me. Just go.
A good soldier never leaves a man behind.
Because I wouldn't give you 2 cents for all your fancy rules if behind them they didn't have a little bit of plain, ordinary, everyday kindness.
Life, finds a way.
Welcome to SilverScreenBiases. Every 2 weeks, we pick a movie off of IMDb's top 250 and dig into it. We're examining truth points and critically playing movies while also examining our own biases. I'm Nelson.
This is Jeff.
And this week,
The Wild Robot.
this episode is brought to you by our community on Patreon. They make this show happen and you can help. Links to our Patreon and merchandise are in the show notes. If you enjoy what we're doing, please like, comment, but especially share. It does a lot to help. You can also send us a text message by clicking the link below. Now back to the show. Jeff.
Hey, what's up?
We are joined today by a very special guest, back for his third episode, Jacob Winograd of the Biblical Anarchy podcast and Christian Libertarian Institute. Welcome back, Jacob.
Glad to be here. I don't know if the fourth guest wants to say anything, but you want to say something to the mic?
We might hear from her later.
No, I'm here with my baby daughter. So if you hear anything just like that, like clipping or hitting up the mic, where I'm not writing solo like I usually do tonight.
We're glad to have her as well.
Absolutely.
You got to train them young, right? If you want her to be a podcast star as an adult, she has to start young.
The Christian and Libertarian indoctrination starts young as possible.
It's a lifestyle. No trend.
Indoctrinate your kids with somebody else will.
Well, so to jump right in here, Nelson, I know you're a facilitator. What's like? What you been up to since last time we had you on, Jacob? How's life been going?
How's the podcast growing?
Anything new? How's the podcast? What's been going on?
I've gone from a moderately known libertarian Christian podcast in some circles to a slightly more moderately known podcast in some libertarian and Christian circles. So moving up in the world.
There you go.
That's awesome.
It's good. I mean, I've it's one of those things with everything I do with LCI and my podcast where it ebbs and flows. Like looking at my stats, it was like, oh cool, I had Dave Smith on. So like, wow, I have like over 10,000 views on this episode. And it's like that you roll episode. It's like, oh cool, I have 20 views on YouTube. So it's just like the YouTube analytics are just like, whoa, what's going on there? But I've had some pretty sustained growth, I guess. I mean, it's I've always known I'm doing an uphill battle because I decided to like double niche myself.
Yeah.
It's like we're going to libertarian podcast. We're going to Christian libertarian podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, we have a similar issue. The IMDb Top 250, you expect to get more attention, but there's a lot of obscure movies on there. When we do, like, Star Wars, of course, that does gangbusters. When we do, I can't even remember the name of it, but there's this one obscure Iranian film about a boy doing a marathon to get shoes for his sister. Nobody listens to that episode, and I don't blame him. I would have seen the movie if it had been on the Top 250.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And, but sometimes, it's like, it doesn't even matter. Like, I mean, obviously, I want people to watch the show. I want to grow. And, I think most podcasters, there's a lot of dream of like, I'd be cool to do this full time.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's partly just because it's fun. I love having conversations. I love exploring topics. And some of my favorite episodes might be the ones that are more modestly viewed, but that's okay with me. So,
yeah, I think that the understanding of a successful podcast needs to be largely adjusted to, do you break even? Is it a net cost or do you break even? If you break even on your podcast, you're doing all right.
yeah, I'm at the point now where like I'm people ask if you make money. It's just like, yeah, but like, I'm not making, like I don't want to oversell. So I'm making a living off this. Like, I'm at least making money now. And like the first few years, I was just kind of like, once you get to that break-even point, that's nice. Like, cool, this hobby no longer costs me money.
Yeah.
Which actually is kind of like, compared to most hobbies, it's actually hard to do. I mean, I used to be into shooting guns. That was a very expensive hobby, and no one would pay me to shoot guns. So now people pay me to just talk politics and Christianity, which I just do anyway. Right. So I'm not going to pay for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Or break even for it.
Or break even for it, yeah.
So normally for repeat guests, we like to ask, what have you changed your mind about recently? But this particular time, I want to ask you slightly different. As you mentioned, you had Dave Smith on. That was because of a very specific, shall we say, scandal in libertarian Twitter sphere. And the cause of that scandal is one Mr. Liquid Zulu, who we've had on a couple times, and this evening we debated. I was wondering, for Jeff and our audience who aren't as terminally online as you and I are, could you get the Cliff Notes on what's happened and how you're debating one?
Yeah, so, man, I know the Cliff Notes version. The Cliff Notes version is that libertarians aren't just on the spectrum, they are the spectrum.
I am the spectrum now.
Right, yeah. It's like the Star Wars, where I am all the Jedi.
Yeah.
It's like I am all the autists. No, so, yeah, I mean, like Dave Smith called a bunch of libertarians who were for open borders communists, and they didn't like that. And they've been kind of feuding ever since, other than like a few of us, and all of them. But like I'm kind of like in the, I don't know, I don't have a strong open or closed border position as a libertarian, because it's complicated. Yeah. But Liquid Zulu, who I actually also like, didn't like that, so he's been kind of taking shots at Dave, and these things, they ebb and flow. Like I told Dave on my show, I was like, part of this thing is that, like, tell them out of perspective, right? Because on one hand, like, to libertarians, because we're such a chronically online community, and we don't win, like, ever. Like, nothing, what I mean? Like, I mean, it's the one win the Libertarian Party has. The one win, like, I mean, in terms of, like, yeah, libertarians have been elected to, like, local office before. Like, the one, like, win, like, oh, wow, you accomplished something that libertarians got in the last 50 plus years is freeing Ross Ulbricht.
Yeah.
And that's it. And that was basically begging Trump to do it, like, and hold his promise. So, yeah, thank you, Elena, for that. It's not like that. So, beyond that, we don't have much to talk about. So, of course, anytime there's even a little bit of drama, we're going to play it up like the Super Bowl. So, yeah, so, like, to anyone who's not terminally aligned in the libertarian community, this is like nothing burger.
Right.
But to us, it's a big deal, right? So, they've been taking shots at each other for a while. Then Liquid Zulu created, like, a 3.5 hour video,
long,
basically trying to, like, take down Dave Smith and say he's not a real libertarian. Right. And
there's a lot of precedent for that in the libertarian community. There's a lot of no truth cost mentality that goes around.
If you've never had a 3.5 hour video made about you to take down and ask if you're a libertarian, then you like, are you really a libertarian? Yeah. You're not trying hard enough at that point.
I'm not trying hard enough, evidently.
I mean, I haven't quite got the 3.5-hour video. I have had videos made about me and weird stalkers online and weird haters and things like that, but I've not quite risen to the 3.5-hour video level yet.
Built on the bait and switch straw man.
One day. But yeah, so I'm friends with Dave, and so like he asked me a couple others like what we thought about the video because he just couldn't force himself to watch the entire thing. And I said, like this whole like you're a poison to the movement thing is like just showmanship and nonsense. I was like, but like anything, like it's not like an entire 3.5 hours of content that there's nothing in there that goes, maybe you got a point there. So but yeah, so that's the drama. I had Dave on. We talked about that. We deconstructed also kind of like everything happened with the Mises Falcons and the Libertarian Party the last 6 years. And
That's
not there.
deeper inside baseball.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a lot. It was a really 3-hour conversation about a 3-hour video, and then look, we did a 5.5-hour video in response to our 3-hour video, responding to his 3.5-hour video. And so then today I was just like, listen, I'm not doing a 7-hour video reacting to your 5.5-hour video. Reacting to it. So I was like, just come on my show and we'll just talk for 2 hours and just kind of like end the endless spiraling. And so we had a good talk. I kind of like staged it as a debate because like we were going to debate a few things, but it ended up just kind of like each one of those things that like if you get people to sit down and actually communicate, you realize that like half of the online squabbles and debates are just like such little things, and you can actually find ways to like realize you have way more in common and agreement than you otherwise might think so.
Right. And the real stupid part of this dispute too is that it's a false binary of open border and closed border, and both of them would acknowledge that, and both of them would prefer private borders. And the discussion is between like, given that we don't have private borders, how then should the government handle the borders? Should they be open or closed or somewhere in between? And it's like that's a 3-hour video on that point. And that Dave Smith isn't a true libertarian, even though he's arguably the best spokesman for liberty of the last 10 years.
Like he said, he's like, if you create a movement, like you break off the movement, it doesn't have me, doesn't have Tom Woods, doesn't have Papa, doesn't have good grief. I heard what you said. That was, I understood the joke.
That was like deeper inside baseball joke.
Yeah, that's like my threshold for autism today. Not going into that. But yeah, no, it's just silly. And I think like honestly, the biggest reason why like libertarians are succeeding as libertarians. It's not the philosophy. It's just us.
Yeah.
It's one of the things where like the world is like, it's not us, it's you.
Yeah. And they're right. That's right.
Pretty much.
I have a lot of friends that say that it doesn't matter what the conversation topic is, I'm 5 minutes away from explaining why that's why we need to end the government. And there's certain topics within that I slowly won over Jeff on. But we've been on this podcast 3 years now. So it's we are our own worst enemy. So.
Yeah, it's funny that I was at a retreat recently, and we all stayed up like talking like on Saturday night at the last night of the retreat, and then the conversation got political, and I'm not the one who started it. Was like, I was the pastor about it. Listen, you ask any man in that room, and unless they are not God-fearing men and they lie, they will promise you that it wasn't me who started it. I was like, but listen, once we got there, what was I supposed to do? All bets were off. So and plus everyone already is a libertarian. So like, one time it was just like, Trump's a fascist. The other one was just like,
you're right. You're wrong about why you're right.
Right, exactly. Because like they're just arguing. I was just like, I was like, pretty much what you just said. I was like, listen, he's right. Trump's a fascist. And he's like, yeah, but also like, I didn't say this because I was much more political, like savvy about it. But listen, also you're stupid because every president's a fascist. You don't really care when it's Trump. So shut up.
Exactly.
Anyway,
yes, yeah, it's I've told people that I avoid bringing up politics at work, and people that know me well think that I'm there's no possible way I'm being honest about that, but I really do. And it's surprising me the amount of times other people will bring up politics, considering it's supposedly this taboo subject. And if other people bring it up, I'm going to talk politics. You introduced the subject, right? So.
Well, I mean, it's just self-defense. Yeah. Like once you trigger our, frontal lobes.
Yeah. You mentioned trains in front of me. I'm going to tell you about trains. All right. Well, again, it's a pleasure to have you here. And the first time we had you was Schindler's List. The second one, I'm drawing a blank on. What was the second one we had you for?
Gran Torino.
That's right. That's right. And I was hoping to bring you back for what Jeff called Schindler's List, the sequel, Judgment Nuremberg. Yeah. But we just couldn't make the schedule work. And you, I think, wisely recommended, hey, how about this time when I come on? It's not something so grim. so we're doing The Wild Robot. And thank you for suggesting this one. This is a really charming movie.
I will say, though, this movie is not without its sad and dark. Like, the robot kills the mom and all the other agents that break bills. Like,
spoilers.
There's some harsh realities in this film.
That's spoilers.
Watching it with my daughter, I'm like, oh, I forgot about this moment.
But they really do breeze by it. They don't let that moment sit, and that's probably wisely.
I mean, it's actually kind of a callback to how children's movies used to be, though. I mean, like, you think about it, like Disney, like, stuff used to happen all the time, and they did a good job with it. And now, I mean, to be fair, I think children's movies still have dark things in them. It's just usually like, which character's going to be trans or something like that.
Yeah,
it's a little bit
more. The darkness is glorified rather than...
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, so this movie, Wild Robot 2024, is our most recent film to date. It's our most recent.
It's new now?
Came out last year. Yeah, I'll try to
okay, yeah. I guess we covered that last year. Wow, okay.
Yeah, we covered it, yeah. It's an hour and 42 minutes long. It's rated PG. Directed by Chris Sanders. He's recently done The Call of the Wild. That was one with him.
Han Solo.
What's his name? Han Solo, there it is. Yeah, Harrison Ford. The Croods. The 2010 How to Train Your Dragon, which we've done. But that one was co-directed, but he was part of that team. And the original Lilo and Stitch.
I believe he also worked on the live action one as well.
Not as director, but he was probably on, yeah. I just do strictly directing, so but yeah, he was probably on that team. Yeah, so we did this our own movie from 2024. We have not done any movies from 2025 yet. I don't even know if there is a 2025 movie on the top 250. But Oppenheimer came out in 2023, so those are the recent releases.
Chris Sanders also was a writer on The Lion King.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But there is a single IMDb top 250 credit for 2025 so far. It is Demon Slayer Infinity Castle.
Is it a K-pop Demon Slayer? Like, is it that?
No, it's not K-pop Demon Hunters. This is but it is anime.
Okay.
We're going up, one battle after another, and Sinners were, but no longer are.
I need to watch Sinners.
No, you don't.
I do. Oh man. The Wild Robot, was this movie based on an original, the original script, or is it based on something older that predated the film?
Yeah, it's based on a book, The Wild Robot by Peter Brown. It has a sequel, which is being adapted into a sequel. The Wild Robot escapes, and then there's a third in the series, The Wild Robot Protects.
So there's going to be a second movie?
I don't know if it's confirmed they're working on a second, but it's like certainly speculated that they're going to be adapting the sequel into a sequel movie.
When I was watching this movie, I had a thought. I was like, this movie reminds me of other films. I was like, this movie is essentially Wall-E. Wall-E meets Fly Away Home, which is the Jeff Daniels. It's him and his daughter, and they try to get this.
They build a goose machine.
They build a goose machine to get this one goose to fly south before winter. Meets the Iron Robot, the Iron Giant, Iron Robot. Like it's all three of those movies combined into a single story.
Sure. And a bit of Jungle Book too, where they set the forest on fire and he's working with the animals.
Oh, for real, yeah. I haven't seen Jungle Book in years. It's a good, yeah. So pretty good cast in this film for a movie that has not a lot of dialogue. It has dialogue, but like it's not.
There are a lot of dialogue-less scenes, certainly, yeah.
So Lupita Nyong'o, she voiced Roz, the robot. She's going to be in the Odyssey that comes out next year. Christopher Nolan's next film. She's going to be Calypso. I have no idea. She's I don't know. She's most recently in Quiet Place Day 1, the origin of the Quiet Place trilogy. She's in Black Panther 1 and 2. She's in Rise of Skywalker and The Last Jedi. She plays Maz.
Maz.
She's in Jordan Peele's movie Us. She's in Queen of Katwe. She's also in Force Awakens. I guess she's in the whole trilogy. I don't remember Maz in all three of those films. But anyways,
I think she only had one line in the second sequel trilogy movie. Okay. It was like almost a throwaway. Like it was pointless.
Gotcha.
Like the sequel trilogy.
And then she's also 12 years. No, okay, hold on. Okay.
I do like Force Awakens. I do like Force Awakens. The other two I can do without.
It's not. You don't. Okay. Hold on.
This was like if he would have said something like a libertarian,
if Jeff had said, well, sometimes the government does certain things, you'd be like, well, hold on.
I'm not preaching the gospel of the sequel trilogy of Star Wars. Like in general, all three of them are watchable films, and I will continue to rewatch them. They're not the best, but they're not the worst. Moving on. Pedro Pascal, speaking of the Mandalorian, he played Fink in this film. He's in Star Wars. He plays the Mandalorian in multiple Star Wars releases. He's in the MCU. He's the new Reed Richards. He's in a movie called Materialist. He's in multiple episodes of the show Last of Us, which there's 2 seasons out of that currently. Eddington, Gladiator 2, Wonder Woman 84, Equalizer 2, The Kingsman Golden Circle, and 7 episodes of Games of Thrones. I was telling Nelson before we started recording, I've never watched Games of Thrones, but honestly, I have no interest in watching it. But I assumed he was in more episodes. So when I heard that information, I was like, 7 episodes seems small compared to like the impact I assumed he had on that show. But Nelson said the impact was great. Episodes were small, so I guess you can have both. Yeah, gotcha. Your audio changed, Nelson, to something. You don't sound like. It sounds like you're not coming through your microphone. It sounds like you're coming through your computer. Does she like the Star Wars sequel trilogy?
No, but the rest of my kids do.
My daughter told me something. She's only 4, so she hasn't seen any like the adult violent live action stuff. She's seen Star Wars Rebels, which actually is a little darker than she's seen it. But she's also seen like the Young Jedi and stuff like that. And she told me today because I was like, I was trying to get back into it. She goes, I don't like Star Wars. And I'm like, no, it broke my heart. Like, so one day when you're trying.
So like, my wife for the longest time was like, I hate Star Wars. Then finally I was just like, okay, like what's the last time? Like how many times have you watched it? She's like, I watched it like once as a kid. I was like, okay, like we have to actually rewatch it as a family. Right. Now she loves Star Wars. I'm trying to get. So my wife's never watched the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and she'll say all the time, like she loves reading fantasy fiction. Like she loves that stuff. I'm like, you would like to watch. She's like, they're just too long. I'm like, yes, but like you love it. Like just watch the Lord of the Rings. So she's never watched the Lord of the Rings. I'm pretty sure she would like it. Just split it in half. So we go. Just watch half of each movie and take a break and watch it half.
Yeah, put a matinee in the middle of it.
No, I mean, like, yeah, I'm not saying the sequel trilogy is like, it's not like the worst movie ever made. It's just kind of like, they just don't, like, the prequel trilogy already, like, was kind of a dip, but then it was like, there was enough really good moments in lore building in the prequel trilogy that, like, you can overlook the blemishes.
Correct.
And it's just, the sequel trilogy doesn't really give you a whole lot of, like, you know, as much to help you aspire to look past the blemishes.
Right. I do have beefs with it, but, like, not enough, like, and I think I've also I've had to justify in my head because, like, if I've invested so much time, some money, and energy in the universe that is Star Wars, like, for me to go, oh, these 3 movies are just trash, like, would mean like, oh, now I've wasted time. Like, it's like part of me goes like, you have to like these, Jeff. So like, but there are things in this scripture like I don't like Palpatine coming back. I think it's stupid.
Jeff is the textbook definition of sunk cost fallacy.
Okay, explain it to me like I'm done.
So what you just said about Star Wars is that.
Gotcha. It's like, but at the same time, like the second movie, the Last Jedi, like that was my favorite because so the Force Awakens. I'll make this quick. The Force Awakens, like you could guess where they're going, and you did every turn. Like the movie's just repeating shtick. Like it's just, okay, we get what they're doing. The second one, because it was so far out there and kind of weird, I'm like, this is fresh. Like it's a little goofy, but like I can't guess what's gonna happen next because I'm wrong. So I enjoyed that it wasn't just following the pattern of Star Wars. Then the third one happened, and I'm like, okay, now they're back on track. So the third one bothered me the most, but I still watch them. So anyway, all right.
I'm gonna refrain from commenting on that.
They'll be done. All right, Kit Connor, he played Red Bill, the adult version of Red Bill. There's a little kid that voiced the young Red Bill, but I didn't put him on my list. He's in 24 episodes of a show called Heartstopper, 22 episodes of a show called His Dark Materials. He's in Rocket Man, the Elton John movie, and Ready Player One. So it's Kit Connor. Bill, is it Nighy?
Yes.
Okay, Bill Nighy. He voiced Longneck. Tony, and he also had a bunch of stuff that Nelson, you'll probably go, hey, you missed this. So I'm expecting. Okay. But he's a pretty well known British actor. So Castlevania 20 episodes, Pokemon Detective Pikachu, I Frankenstein.
He has a hand condition that if you watch his movies, you'll notice one of his hands doesn't like it's always kind of crooked.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Red of the Titans, The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel, Arthur Christmas, Ringo, Harry Potter, The Deadly Hallows Part 1, G-Force, Valkyrie. No, the second one's Top 250, not the first one.
Oh, right.
Valkyrie, Pirates of the Caribbean 2 and 3, he plays Davy Jones. Hot Fuzz, which is a wonderful movie. Underworld Evolution, and Underworld. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Shaun of the Dead, and Love Actually.
Yeah. He's in all three of the Cornetto trilogy. He's also in a movie that you missed, but I think it's
What's the one I missed from the trilogy?
At World's End.
Okay, I had that one on my list.
Is it At World's End or End of the World? Something like that. Yeah. But he's also in About Time, which is a very charming romantic comedy about time travel that I recommend. The elevator pitch.
I was gonna say, what's its version of time travel? How's it?
Yeah, it's a genetic thing passed on by the men in Bill Nye's line, where they can go back in time to any point that they choose and relive their life from then.
Oh,
Is that like the butterfly effect on this?
It's sort of, except for the butterfly effect. Like he goes back and changes the moment, and then comes back to.
And then goes back, yeah.
Whereas this one, like, he has to relive that period. And as my wife said when she first gave me the elevator pitch, there's some loose ends, but they tie it all at the end.
When he goes back, does he have all his memories from?
Yeah, he does.
So he goes back knowing the things he knows. Okay, he just continues to build upon his knowledge.
Right. And he has an incident where he's had a child. The child's been alive for several years. He goes back in time to before the child was born. The child that gets born is a child now.
So then he has 2 children.
He has a different child.
Oh, okay. I was okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Because that's the way that sperm works. I mean, it is.
honestly, I couldn't tell you.
All my children look the same, so it doesn't look like it.
We adopted. So I'm not even sure how sperm works. Just want to clarify that.
Lindsay's got a very bruised stomach.
We just gave up. Anyway, sorry. Moving on. Stephanie, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, so I'm just going to say Stephanie Sue was HSU. She voiced Bontro. She's in the second best hospital in the galaxy, 16 episodes. The Fall Guy, The Marvelous Miss Maisel, a couple episodes from that show, and Everything Everywhere All at Once, which we've seen her in, and one of my favorite MCU movies to date, Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
So
It gets a lot of hate, but I like that one.
Shang-Chi does?
Yeah.
I've not heard anyone talk bad about Shang-Chi. Anyways,
Online, it does.
I stopped watching Marvel, so I haven't watched any of the new Marvel movies.
it's understandable. You have stronger capability. Again, it's the same thing with Star Wars. I feel like because I've given it so much time, it owns me. Fallacy. So Matt Berry, he voiced Padler. He was basically in a Minecraft movie, The Book of Boba Fett. He's in the 2020 and 2015 SpongeBob movies. Christopher Robin, he's from the IT Crowd, multiple episodes, and Snow White and the Huntsman.
I'd also recommend Taika Waititi's What We Do in the Shadows. The TV show spinoff, not as good, but he's in both. And then the show that really focuses on him most is Toast of London. Very, very funny. But IT Crowd was where I was first introduced to him. He's so over the top, and I find him very, very funny.
Noel Fielding is the reason I know IT Crowd. This show is funny. Ving Rhames, he voiced Thunderbolt. He's in almost, I'm not going to mention him, he's almost in all of the Mission Impossibles. So if he's not in one, he's way more than he's not. So there's that. The Garfield movie, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Piranha 3D, I Pronounced You Chuck and Larry, Dawn of the Dead, Lilo and Stitch, the 2002 Lilo and Stitch that's connected to Chris Sanders, the director, Con Air, Pulp Fiction, which we'll see him in again, and Stop Where My Mom Will Shoot. Okay. Little note before, next up is Mark Hamill. I did not list everything he's done. He's voiced so many different characters.
Yeah.
That this is just a glance into what he's done. This dude's incredible. But he voiced the character in the most recent SpongeBob movie. He's in The Long Walk. He's in 7 episodes of The Sandman. He's in 6 episodes of The Invincible, Life of Chuck, The Fall of the House of Usher, 8 episodes. He's in all Star Wars pretty much. 160 episodes of a thing called The Regular Show. In most DC animated stuff, he voiced the Joker. And he's cameoed in some other stuff DC wise. Just nuance there. He's in Flash and stuff.
I know one deep cut.
Let me have
You probably don't have on your list. There's a lot. He was not the Green Goblin, but the Hobgoblin in the 90s Marvel animated
That
Spider-Man.
was not on my list. It was a series or a movie?
TV show.
Okay, that's it. He's in both comic books.
Because Hobgoblin in the Spider-Man movies from the aughts was James Franco.
Correct. Which they never leaned into that.
Right.
He's also the Fire Lord in Avatar: Last Airbender.
Correct. He's in 11 episodes of Avatar: Last Airbender, 60 episodes of Metalocalypse. He's also in Kingsman: The Secret Service. Okay. All right. Last but not least, honestly, my favorite of the cast, Catherine O'Hara.
Yeah, the mom.
Pinktail, the possum mom. She's great. Like she's also part of another one of those moments where like it went dark real quick and then they just moved on. She thought one of her children died and she was just like, oh, okay.
No, she didn't think it. One of her children died.
But he came back though.
Are you sure that child came
Yes,
back?
that was the one that came back.
Okay.
Yeah. But like so her reaction to losing him was like, oh, okay. And then he's like, oh, he's back, whatever. So it's,
I missed that bit.
yeah, but like her reaction was the same either way. So that was funny. She's great. So she's in 10 episodes of The Studio. She's in a couple episodes of The Last of Us. She's in both Beetlejuice movies, Argyle, Elemental, 80 episodes of Schitt's Creek, The Addams Family, Skylander Academy, 26 episodes, Frankenweenie, 39 episodes of Glenn Martin DDS, Where the Wild Things Are, Away We Go, For Your Consideration, Brother Bear 2, Monster House, Over the Hedge, Chicken Little, A Series of Unfortunate Events, A Mighty Wind, Orange County, Niagara Before Christmas, Home Alone 1 and 2, and Dick Tracy.
Yeah.
Catherine O'Hara.
You mentioned Beetlejuice, right?
Both Beetlejuices, yeah. Yep.
Don't say it 3 times.
Okay, I think I'm good. I was just saying, like, I may have already. I think I'm good.
I'm just saying both Beetlejuices count as twice.
If I say plural, is that man, screwed that up. The second of that film of this franchise, it was a fun watch. I'm not gonna say it's new, but it was a fun movie. This movie, the one about 8.2 out of 10 on IMDb. It's currently sitting at number 180 in the top 250. Nelson, what is the history of this film on the top 250?
I do this every episode I have it up. I close the tab.
I remember my first.
So it debuted in October 2024. It started at 168 and peaked at 149 about a month later. Actually, only a few days later. But it slowly fallen since then. But still at 180 out of 250. I think it's not like it leveled off about March of this year. I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon. I think it's got some staying powers.
Okay, there you go. Rotten Tomatoes has critics of 97% to year and audience of 98%. So it's loved by everyone. What was the budget of this film? 2024.
The budget was $78 million. Any guesses, Jacob, at what $78 million last year is worth this year?
Oh, good grief. Probably worth at least, and I mean, at least an extra 10, 20 million on that.
It's actually only 80.8. But of course, these are using official inflation metrics. I think we all feel in our pocketbooks that inflation is a little bit more than what they tell us. Gold is up something like 55% this year, which is a crazy year for gold. So
yeah, no, I think that's why I think it's hard to say with these things. But, yeah. I'm gonna like stop, spewing out libertarian propaganda.
It's like the thing that we never stop talking about, but also whenever we actually stop to think about, we just get so depressed. We just get so bummed out. I was looking at gold prices compared with dollar inflation over the last however many years, and gold prices with inflation prior to 71 is really hard to track because gold price was federally regulated for the first 200 years or the previous 150 whatever years. But like since then, it's taken off like a rocket. But this last year, gold has had a massive jump, and historically that always leads a recession. So gold will shoot up, then silver will shoot up, and then a recession hits typically the next year. Gold shot up, silver is shooting up. Buckle up.
You're such a doomer. I feel Anakin. Trust the plan, Nelson.
Yeah, trust the plan.
Oh my gosh.
Donald Trust.
Well, gentlemen, before we get into biases and themes and all that fun jazz of this film, like, what's your guys' hot takes with this film? Like, do you guys enjoy this film? Was this your first time watching it? Had you seen it before? What was your experience prepping for this episode?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably just by the fact that I requested this movie. I absolutely loved it. I think I actually, first time I watched it, I told home from work and my kids were watching it, and I caught like the end. Like, it was the end. So I was like, oh my god, I need to watch the beginning because like this looks really cool. And then I think I rewatched it just on my own at least 2 or 3 times. And then there's just so many things about the movie that there's the movie itself and the story was really good.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of themes that I found really compelling and interesting. I was literally like talking to my ChatGPT about this movie at one point. I still have the thread of me just like exploring all the different themes I thought about, but which we can get into later. But I just thought the movie was well done. There was definitely a couple like show off moments from the illustrators and stuff, like the whole like, butterfly scene and all that. So it's just a really good movie. It's well paced.
It's a beautiful film. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the animation is absolutely gorgeous. I really like how even not background parts, but like things that you're not supposed to be focusing on necessarily, like trees or whatever, are the quality of rendering is lower, right? Which draws your eyes towards the high rendering. And I think that's an interesting animation choice, because there's some movies where the whole thing's beautifully animated. There's with a new Steam VR headsets that they've advertised, they've got this thing where like it can track what your eyeballs are looking at on your screen. And so it'll render in higher quality at those spots and lower quality elsewhere. And it's kind of crazy. And it's kind of the inverse of the same thing. By rendering higher quality on the thing they want you to look at, it draws your attention to that. It's probably good budget-wise as well, I imagine, but I really liked it.
One of the things that came to mind is that, after watching the movie, the kids, of course, said, oh, these are books, and then we went down the books and reading the books. And this movie does such a good job at like what so many modern movies don't do, which is the classic rule of show, don't tell. Like, the book, like the first 5 chapters are literally the first, like, just 2 minutes of this movie. Really? Because the movie does such a good job at taking, like, instead of, like, having to give all sorts of exposition dump and all sorts of, like, it does so much well-placed thing. It has that, like, like in theater and whatnot, they always say that, like, if there's if there's like a room in one scene. Yeah, it's like in this movie, like, it doesn't really put anything in there is superfluous. Like, everything is setting up something else, either in the next scene or later down the movie. Like, it's
like if you were chewing at the tree, ends up being the way that
yeah, that's a really good example. Yeah.
Are they big books or are they kids-sized books? Like,
they're chapter books.
They're chapter books. And it's weird because, like, it has a ton of chapters. They're short chapters. They're like 2 3-page chapters. And then so like the books are kind of like big when you look at them, but they're not super hard reads. But just kind of like how the movie starts out without a lot of talking, the book starts out without a lot of talking. And so the first book to get into is probably the hardest, but it gets a lot better as time goes on. So the movie, kind of rightfully so, the movie is like, well, we need to, without a lot of dialogue in the first half, we need to figure out a way to keep people engaged, and they did a really good job with that, and kind of still setting up the world building and getting all the essential plot elements in place.
Yeah. If you were to give an age recommendation for the books, what would you give it?
You could probably read this to like a 6 to 8 year old, but it's probably better for like a 10-year-old or older,
okay.
In my opinion, to read if they're going to read on their own.
Okay. Well, what about you, Jeff? What was your impression of the movie?
Man, I loved it. This was maybe my 3rd time watching it, and the animation blew me away. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. Like the most impactful thing is the animation. Like, but the storyline is moving. Like the I love everything about it. The voice casting's wonderful. I like how they represent the time jumps when like they hibernate. Like just the visually seeing time progress. Just it's a terrible answer I'm giving. It's a wonderful movie. Like, okay, so I watched it previously, so I'd already rented it on both IMDb and Letterboxd. After watching it just this past week for this episode, I had to bump it up another notch.
Yeah,
it was better the next time around. So I believe it's. Let me double check here. But I think I've got. I think it's. Did I put it at a 9? Oh, I didn't write that on my document. It is ranked very high for me.
Yeah.
And in watching it the most recent time, I upped it even higher. I got ranked at 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Like I adjusted that. So it's a wonderful movie. My daughter loves it. It's captivating.
It's so good. I mean, even that we don't say, like the music. It is just got I mean, that can sometimes take a movie that's good, bordering on great, and then take it from great to like a whole other level.
Yeah.
And I'm a musician, so like music is sometimes a big part of what makes movies for me. And the soundtrack on this one, and kind of there's the one theme that plays out in different songs. Like it'll play out in kind of like softer scenes, and it's very like the hardcore, very like everything's happening all at once scenes. And so it's a very good, simple theme that gets multiple uses and creates this kind of through line for the movie. And then like and then it's where like there are some scenes that are iconic in movies in general, but in animation. Like everyone thinks about like the opening to Lion King and just the whole I don't even know the words. So the opening, and all that, and then ending with the circle of life and Simba up in the air. This movie, like the scene with Roz running to give like use a boost, basically called the I think it's a boost scene, and just running and making it look like she's almost flying with all the geese flying with her, and just the music and the swell. Yeah. I mean, that's just like that gives me chills when I watch that scene still. Like it's just there's so much there emotionally and cinematically. That's just like that's the kind of stuff that special movies have.
Yeah.
And I will say I have kind of a little bit of bias going into this film too, because any story that connects to a found family type of situation, I just really like it because our family. Yeah, we adopted this place. We relate to that. So any story about like families coming together in ulterior ways, like just that immediately goes, okay, you got me, I'm paying attention. So that is always something I pick up in films that grabs me and stuff. So that's yeah, just the unlikely parenting, just it's incredible. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I also bumped up a rating of half a star to 5 stars. It went from a 7 to an 8 for me. I thought it was good. Now I think it's great. It's just super well done. There are, I think the final act is somewhat predictable, but the first 2 acts I thought were like the setup and the concept is very unique.
Yeah. I don't think it's wrong to have some predictability in storytelling. So I agree with you that it kind of ended the way like you assumed it would. But yeah, I appreciate having something that's just like, okay, we're familiar territory. I can let my guard down a little bit in this movie that's just emotionally taking me on its own stuff. Like yeah, so I would agree with that.
Well, with that said, let's get into biases. I want to pass it to Jacob first. Jacob, you said you've seen several themes in this that you also discussed with ChatGPT. This is one of those.
Yeah, when I've been I saw that chat stage, I went and pulled it up, and I think the thing that I was initially captivated by, and this isn't the first movie to do it, right? The first movie I remember watching that ever did this was actually funny because you have your the nickname. We give ourselves nerdy nicknames on this. You have 1000 Nelson. Terminator 2 was the first movie that ever did this. This idea of AI learning to kind of appreciate humanity and to learn human emotions and connection. That's a very different context, not a child movie, even though I watched it as a child, but not an animated classic for children. But this had that same theme of just like something sentient. I'm sorry, something's not sentient, something artificial, learning to become sentient, and the means by which it does that is by taking care of another person, and learning what it means to take care of another person. And there's there's so many layers to that. I mean, obviously as a Christian, I think about Christian layers there, and how like Jesus says in John 15, that there's no greater love than that you lay down your life for someone else, right? And that idea of being a servant, that we as parents to our children, like we're self-sacrificial to them.
Yes.
But like so like this whole idea of like giving a robot a task, like, oh, you have to raise this child, and then the only way it can learn to do this task is essentially it has to grow a soul. Right? I mean, leave aside like the whole metaphysics of soul creation and like what it takes to do that, but just because like that's kind of like overthinking the movie a little bit. But that's what we do here. Right? I know. There's a whole element to there, by the way. Just like what would it take for AI to become sentient? Right. But just that like just the serving and the evolution of like there are some things in life that can't be boiled down to like here's a checklist of things you can do. Right? Like, here's the 3 things I have to do. Right. And it's like it's not that simple. And even once it's checked off, your task still has not actually been completed.
Right. A really great example of that is when Roz is trying to teach Bright Bill how to swim, and Fink just throws Bright Bill in the water, and Roz says he will not learn this way. And so goes and rescues Bright Bill, and Fink says, not if you keep doing that, right? Like, in parenting, as all 3 of us know, and I'm sure a lot of our audience knows, like, the instruction part of learning is only a small part. You've got to be willing to let your kids fail, and that is hard. That is so hard.
Yeah, I struggle with the parenting. Like, I'm such a... What's the one? I'm trying to think of a movie. The one character, okay, the animated Tarzan movie. The elephant is like, is that water sanitary? Like that's me. Just like I don't think we should do that. Like that doesn't look. That's always me. Like I'm always the dad going, hey, be safe. What does that even mean? Like just like oh, I struggle so hard with like letting my daughter just push the limits, see what happens. Like I that's hard for me.
I'm kind of on the other end of that, where I am so willing to let my children fail because I think that's good for learning, that some people interpret that with me as being reckless. I remember when Sophia was a toddler, my dad had left the ladder out and she was climbing up the side of the house, but like she'd go up one rung and go back down. And my dad and I were sitting drinking a beer, and he's like, "Shut the ladder away." I was like, "No, this is a good opportunity for her to learn." And he's like, "You can go intervene." I was like, "I mean, if she falls, I'll go pick her up." But she'd go over and she'd climb up one rung, and get down. And then like 5 minutes later, she'd come up and she'd do 2, and then go back down. And I don't think she ever got more than halfway up the ladder. And it was only like at most she was going to fall. And she'd gone high enough that the fall would have been real dangerous. I would have been close by. But no, I think it's important. I think pain is a powerful motivator and a powerful learning instrument. But it's hard to watch your kids be in pain at the same time.
And yet, like the strength of a parent is to, with wisdom, like know that's necessary. I remember one of the things when I was a young parent listening to Jordan Peterson, one of the things he said that has always struck with me is that like it's not your job as a parent to keep your kids safe. It's your job to make them strong. That's the only way to actually make them safe. And this movie kind of showcases that too. That like as much as like Roz like could have just said like, well, you're not going to fly, so we're just going to keep you here and learn. And which like they kind of could have worked. Yep. But that wouldn't have actually been in Bright Bill's best interest. Right. What was in his best interest and the best way for her to complete her task was like, no, like I need to give you not just the tangibles of learning to fly, learning to swim, but like the intangibles of like internal self-confidence, the ability to do hard things, to face adversity. It's like that whole, I mean, that training montage that they go through, like, Bright Bill fly. I mean, like, I mean, maybe I'm overstating it, but like, it's like one of the, I mean, like, it's funny to talk about, a goose learning to fly and then like compare it to like Rocky Balboa training. But like, like for me, it's like, it kind of is the same thing, just like overcoming odds. Because everyone's just like, you're too small, you're not going to make it.
Weird.
And it's like, there is something, I think people who maybe discredit this movie a little bit will be like, okay, this is a feel-good movie, but like, these are all tropes that have been done before. And I'm like, so like, there's for every trope that's in this movie, we can find another movie that's done before. This is a unique blending of a lot of those tropes. And it's a unique blending in terms of, again, the only thing I can think of is kind of Terminator 2 in terms of it being a robot that then goes through this, but also a robot connecting to animals, that's like the only angle of the movie where I get a little bit like, okay, is this some kind of like a, there's some part of the movie that I don't know how much this is meant to be in there, but the whole, like, there could be an element where people interpret it as like, humans have ruined the world and AI is the only thing that can save it and bring harmony back to nature. I've seen some people try to take this movie in that direction. But I don't know, because the AI is also kind of the villain at the same time in the movie. So the humans are almost non-existent. They're just kind of like in the background. So I think that's not exactly what the movie's about. It's much more just about like it's a finding family.
Does that show up more in the later books?
No, it doesn't show up in the books.
Yeah, because I really think that's in this movie. Like,
I mean, the books get
forward, but this, no.
I mean, the books probably go as hard as Wall-E, not really as hard, but like they get into, like, put it this way, in a weird way, actually, like the books remind me more of like describing how technology can be dangerous, but more in like a Brave New World way
Oh,
than
okay, yeah.
than in a, well, and even like, you know, you could probably rescue Wally too. There's stuff that, I mean, not to get all libertarian preachy again, but like, they're like, corporations are not just your friend, especially when they're married to the state. Like, they absolutely cannot just cause political problems, but they can destroy the planet because they're left unchecked. I mean, you know, forget, even if you're like a climate change skeptic, like just pollution in the water is a really big deal. Deforestation is a really big deal. So we have to have a tangent, but it's I guess insofar there's an environmental thing to this movie, because like there's like subtext there, because like they keep on having these like horrible storms, right? And so part of that, there's like a scene where you see like the Golden Gate Bridge underwater and things like that. So like, there's things in there kind of hinting at like a I don't know if it's quite meant to be like a post-apocalyptic world, but just kind of semi-dystopian, I guess. But yeah,
do the books ever say what year these movies take place in?
1998.
I don't think they do. I'm not finished with all the books yet, so I don't know if I'm missing.
Are we in the second or third?
We're in the second.
Okay. You know, earlier tonight, my wife and I were driving around, and I usually play funk music. That's what I tend to be into. And there's this one song that comes on once in a while by Tower of Power called "There's Only So Much Oil in the Ground." And musically, it's a great song. It's so much fun. But the lyrics I hate. And here's the opening verse: "There's only so much oil in the ground. Sooner or later, there won't be much around. Tell it to your kids while you're driving downtown that there's only so much oil in the ground." And the thing that I don't get is it's not been articulated to me why that's a problem. You know, like, no, I've not heard the argument. Maybe some people are making it that if we take all the oil out of the ground, there's going to be catastrophic, like sinkholes and things. That's an argument I'm willing to listen to. But if the problem is that there's not enough of it to last forever, so we need to develop alternative fuel sources, well, there will reach a point where oil will get so expensive because it's finite that people will develop alternative fuel sources because they're more cost effective. So whether we do it now because it's a finite resource or we do it later, like the outcome's largely the same.
Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, even in this movie, like humanity's figured out a way to survive. There's apparently some kind of major environmental shift in the planet, and animals and nature found a way to survive. So yeah, I don't think the environmental stuff is like a major, like it's there, but it's not like it's subplot. It's not like in your face, like there's some kind of agenda, like it like saves the planet, or it's not like the Lorax or anything like that.
Right. Well, even if we did save the planet, then the story would never happen.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is just like in any context, there's going to be like there's something. Again, that was it's a robot, right? And it's there's a suspension of disbelief because like, I don't actually think that artificial intelligence could ever become sentient on its own. But there is just like so once you get past that, there is just something very like so you're saying that like the Christians are on here be like, so you're saying that even in the most unlikely of circumstances, people will form families, right? It's just like like for us as Christians, other than like worshiping God, right, and like the gospel, like what's the most secondary, most important things? Like be fruitful and multiply and have families, and that doesn't mean like you can't have your own kids, and like you can still be a parent. And adoption's a major theme in the Bible. Yeah. We're adopted ourselves by Christ. Into the covenant of Abraham by Christ's work. So I mean, there's all sorts of themes there that just like they just hit well. Like, there's other reasons I think that maybe try these themes and they do okay, but this one just it hits really well because I think so really well. Like you watch Roz develop, and it's not rushed, it's not dragged out. It's just this perfect development of increasing consciousness and sentience and devotion to her kid, and like running after Bright Bill after he successfully goes to fly, and gosh, I mean, even speaking like self-sacrificial to be like, I'm going to go back to save all of you. Yeah, because I'm the one that they want, not you. I mean, it's just yeah. No, I did. Yeah, I could keep gushing, but I'll stop there.
There's a theme in the movie of nature versus nurture. Now, before we talk about, because I've got some lines here, I want to get each of your feel. What do you think the movie's opinion on nature versus nurture is?
So maybe I'm reading too much into it, but like the fact that this movie revolves around literal nature, I feel like you could get an argument for either side of this, because you see both thriving. Like you see like the possum mom, like you see biological stuff, and then you see the natural, the normal. Then you see the stuff that's out of place that goes, okay, I'm going to do this anyways, and you see that also thrive. So like in this movie, I don't think this movie shows one over the other as far as this one trumps the other one. In other things, I think they usually pick, like a side is usually picked, and you're going, okay, yeah, so this is the argument towards or against one of these. But for this film specifically, I think it's just kind of pro. It's just like, again, I'll give you my answer of what I think outside of the movie as well. But in this film, like, I feel like this movie just goes, both are valuable. So that's my argument for the movie. Outside of the film, in real world scenarios and stuff, like I would also say both are valuable, but at the same time, I think nurture
trumps nature.
Yeah, and I'm coming at you with advice that like I have to believe it does, because like adoption keeps coming up like with my daughter being non-biological, and like there's things that I don't know, like I was kind of hoping that we can nurture enough to hopefully negate some of the stuff that she may or may not be bringing to the table from the stuff that's naturally there that we're not aware of.
And then also some of that might just be the fact of her age, right? Like
correct, but she has trauma because coming from an adoption situation, like there's trauma there that she does. Like, so some of that stuff is natural, but at the same time, to negate it would be great, or to avoid it, or to allow her to have an ability to process it without it being a factory for more trauma or more negative stimulation. Like so. I'm looking at my wife right now, but I hope one day we she'll come on the podcast and talk about some of her stuff. Lindsay, if you're interested, we're going to have Good Will Hunting as the last movie of the year, working with students and their brains and stuff. She's not saying no. I feel like I feel like nurture speaks more into what the Bible calls us to do than what nature does. Yeah, I think you can argue both sides of it, but that's my perspective.
Yeah. Nature, nurture. What's the movie have to say? And what's your opinion on it?
I mean, the movie definitely leans into the differences of the different natures of the different animals and of Roz being a robot. But at the same time, it kind of like makes the point that like, hey man, just because nature is there, it doesn't mean that like it's insurmountable, right? Like nurture plays a huge role. Your choices make a huge role. Something that comes to mind when thinking about like at the end, all the animals are like coming together, not killing each other, saying like we're gonna have peace at this place. Even after Roz leaves, like Roz has changed the entire island after what she's done for them. And at first now, like you'll start picking this up here. And again, it's clumsy, but there's stuff there that just the archetypes are always pointing towards the ultimate archetype, where at first Roz is hated and despised, but then comes to be the cornerstone by which the island builds up a new peace and by which they are saved.
Talking about Ron Paul?
Nailed it.
No, I mean, just like there's this passage in Isaiah 11 I pulled up that made me think of just some obviously drawing parallels to Christ, but it's rather it's in Isaiah 11. There shall come forth a shoot from the stem of Jesse, and a branch from his roots shall bear fruit, and the Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him. He shall not judge by what I see, or defend dispute for what his ears hear, but with righteousness he shall judge the poor, and cite equity for the meek of the earth. Righteousness shall be the belt of his waist, and faithfulness above his loins. And he said, the wolf shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the young goat, and the calf and the lion and the fattened calf together, and a little child shall lead them. The cow and the bear shall graze, and their young shall lie down together. And the lion shall eat straw like the ox, and the nursing child shall play over the hole of the cobra, and the weaned child shall put his hand on the adder's den. They shall not hurt or destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. Yeah, there's just something there just about like just, I mean, not to sound too, I don't know, cheesy or, sappy, but just that like, it's a story about love conquering and bringing peace. And that's, we live in a very violent, war-torn world. Whether it's wars going on in the Middle East, wars on the domestic population. I think the libertarian and the Christian impulse is anti-war and pro-peace. With libertarians, it's sometimes struggling more against flesh and blood. As Christians, we don't struggle against flesh and blood, and we're longing for a peace that is greater than just peace on earth, but a peace that seems to transcend the natural bounds of earth. And that's what that passage in Isaiah 11 is talking about. So, like, talk about the Bible saying, this whole idea of Christian theology is not just man that needs saved, but that creation cries out to be redeemed. And so when I'm looking at this, it's like, whether you take this symbolically or literally, there's a call that there will be a time where violence ends and that peace reigns, even peace reigns to the point where animals whose nature is against each other is overcome. And so, this story is obviously, hinting at like, just a robot loving its child and sacrificing herself for them leads to this result where they all are changed fundamentally to no longer hunt and kill each other. I mean, that's just like, I find the striking quite, the similarity is quite striking. My own, that matches up to my own views. Like, I think nature's real. I think men and women are different. Yeah. I would think that like, it's silly to say like there's not at least some differences between different ethnic groups, right? And obviously I'm Jewish, I'm smarter than all you guys. Yeah. But I mean, but I'm never going to be able to talk basketball. So I mean,
is that the difference?
We're all white though, so none of us will.
Yeah, supposedly I can't jump. So.
But like all those things are kind of like, it's up to us to choose how much those differences matter.
Right.
They can matter a whole lot, or they can matter almost not at all. Right. And that's kind of dependent upon us.
Yeah. I mean, so our last recorded episode, but not yet released, was our Off to 50 episode for Zootopia. And the big theme of that is you can be whatever you want to be. And that's simply, unfortunately, not true, right? I think the nurture argument, I think in this movie, it's saying nature is real, nurture can trump it. And some examples of that would be, Roz having programming, but then breaking that programming. Bright Bill has a nature, but he's weird because he acts like a robot. Why does he act like a robot? That's his nurture, right? Not his nature, but his nurture. At one point, the fox Fink says, "I'm a fox, it's in my nature." And she says, "Oh, you're programming." Right? Like it's, and then of course she has the line during the snowstorm. "I know you'll have instincts that keep you alive, but sometimes to survive, we must become more than we are programmed to be."
Yeah.
So I think the movie is like acknowledging that nature is real, but saying that we can choose otherwise. Outside the movie, in the real world, when people are making the nature versus nurture argument and saying that nature is more significant, there's broadly speaking two camps that I see making this argument. There's the very progressive side saying, things like, if you require voter ID, that's inherently discriminatory against black people because they don't know where to get IDs. That's an argument.
That's the most racist thing in the world, by the way. It's like how infantile are you treating black? Like, poor black people, they don't get IDs. It's like, no black person would be so offended. It's like, what do you think I'm stupid? Get an ID? Like,
absolutely. But
instead,
on the other hand, the other side making the same nature versus nurture argument for nature are people like Nick Fuentes that say, you might as well just lock up all black people, right? Like there are things Nick Fuentes says where I'm like, wow, you made a really good point there. And then I listen a little bit further, and he says something like that. I'm just like, okay, I'm out. And so it seems like the two sides making the nature argument are both racial collectivists, but coming at one from a side that is just like offensively discriminatory because they don't like the person, and the other offensively discriminatory because they're mothering people,
Yeah, but at the same time, like that is the norm of human societies, is to fall into these ethnic divides and to exaggerate them, to focus on them.
Yeah.
And it's,
the meta nature versus nurture argument.
Right, exactly. I mean, and it's just a funny thing where I'm a social conservative, yet I recognize Christianity is not really, I mean, it's like simultaneously conserving God's order, and then it's also like progressing us past our own natural baseline. Anyways, it's kind of doing both.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just, at the same time though, it's like, I think the whole point of that movie, though, like at least the way I'm looking at it, is like, who among us could do what Roz did? Like, be absolutely hated and loathed and just keep trying to help people anyway.
Yeah.
Like, talk about overcoming. Like that's where is that in human nature?
Right. Do you think that continued when she broke her programming?
What do you mean?
Because we see it a lot, especially when she's within her programming of like her whole program is find a task, complete the task, right? And so it's like when you just chat with ChatGPT, and to get results that you want, you actually have to bully it because it's designed to kind of edify whatever it is it thinks you are, right? And so the question I guess is like, how much of that do you think was her programming, and how much of that do you think continued even after her programming? Like, how much of that was her soul, as far as the movie kind of depicts soul?
That's a good question. I think obviously it starts out as her programming, but I think by the end she's still, well, the end they're starting to like her. But I mean, like the whole thing she, even though she's kind of developed, I guess, a soul by the point where the big storm comes and she's saving all the animals. Like, there's nothing, like no one's given her a task to do that, to save all those animals. Like, there's nothing for her. There's nothing being, no directive she's fulfilling. It's just like, if it's like, why do we have to save all these people? Like, I want to save them. They all hate me, and she's like, and they all hate me too. Like, everyone on this island hates us, and yet here we are. We're their only hope. What are we gonna do about it? We're gonna walk away from them even though they hate us. That is kind of what people do. That's kind of human. And so, she's, maybe first it's kind of incidental because it's just her programming, just to be like, I will help people. But by the time she's kind of full of empty, and she's just like, like on her last power cell, like, flickering lights, and like, I'm gonna go save the bear.
Right. Who, by the way, didn't need saving. The bear was in a sealed, like, hibernating environment. He would have been fine.
Not in this one.
But yeah, no, I think you're right. I think especially by the time we go into Storm, she's broken her programming. Nobody gives a task. Fink certainly doesn't give a task.
So Fink's like, don't do it. And she's pushing to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Yep.
Even like, I'd say even before like maybe she was even fully broken stuff, like when she was building the shelter, like it could have just stopped at the shelter, but like after that she still put up like what would be the pictures of like the wood burnings of like it's just those nuances of like she may not be fully broken her program, but at the same time like she knows there's value in some of these nuances, these humanized moments of emotion and feeling. Like it is a fascinating progression that she has, because like before she fully goes AWOL, because I mean she's making good choices, but you just see her doing these human moments of like, okay, why would you care about tracking the growth of right the pictures? Like why is that? Like, so no, yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Jeff, is there a theme of this movie that you want to explore?
Oh man, I don't think so. Yeah, of course. Let's see here. When you grow up, so Fink says, when you grow up without something, you end up spending a lot of time thinking about it. I don't know if this is an altruistic statement for everything. Because like I believe we talked about this during the Zootopia episode. If not, I had this conversation with someone else and just thinking of the podcast. Like this idea of like, I kind of, sometimes I envy myself. I envy the Amish sometimes, like this concept of like, well, they don't have these things, they don't do these things. Like, it's like, man, I'm a collector of things. Like, I like, because things exist, I tend to like them. Like, it would be easier if I didn't know they existed. Like, I wish I didn't know about vinyl records. I wish I didn't know about these concerts that are happening that now I need to go to and stuff. Like, so if I'm not aware of something existing, I don't think about it. But like, but so I think you have to be aware that you're missing something for this to be the truth. Like, and maybe that's why I'm saying maybe I'm over analyzing this, but just you can grow up without things and not realize you're missing stuff. Like, does that make sense? Like, yeah,
and that's also kind of where that line ignorance is bliss comes from, right? Like, you can't miss something that you don't know exists.
Right. But then, now granted, like things like parents, like if you grow up in a one-parent family, if you grow up in even less emotional, like since I've been married, I've always wanted a garage, like an attached garage, and it's something I think about a lot, especially every winter when I have to walk to my car and clean it off. Like I've never grown up in an attached garage, but I do spend a lot of time thinking about attached garages. I do this is the time of the year where I think about this. But there's other things where I'm like, I never grew up eating that. That's not a food that like, okay, I just want your thoughts on that statement, not necessarily what I have to say about the statement. Like, when you grow up without something, you end up spending a lot of time thinking about it.
I also had that written down. One of the things that comes to mind for me is game consoles. Growing up, we had a Nintendo Entertainment System, the 1985 one, and that was it until high school. We got a Wii. But all my friends had N64s, PlayStations, GameCubes, PS2s. Like, I thought about it a lot. I've got one myself now, but like honestly, it's not as important to me now as I used to think it was. I'm trying to think of some other examples. I had a very charmed childhood, so I had almost everything that I could ask for, with the exception of a modern game console. But I do think like whatever it is that you don't have that everybody else has, especially growing up, like you want it bad. You think about it a lot.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that I don't know. Like, I think all of our childhood experiences are complicated, right? Like I grew up in something like that, like a more or less kind of loving household, and yet as I've grown older, I realized more of a lot of things I was lacking that maybe like created certain challenges for me as I became an adult and matured. And now I'm in my 30s with 5 kids, and I recognize certain weaknesses I have, and I'm just like, I'm very aware of certain deficiencies I have, and it's harder to I didn't have a good figure of like what it meant to be a man in my life. Like, my dad was there. I love my dad, but he was either absent a lot, or like when he was kind of trying to be, I guess, like a man, it was more in the toxic side of masculinity and not, I have figures now, but like I didn't have it when I was younger. I was looking to the right people when I was younger. So, I guess that's the way I go with it a little bit. There were a lot of good quotes in this movie. Some of them were just funny. I'm looking at the list of quotes here. Some of them were just like all comical ones of just like, the goose-link stalks me. It makes noise. It makes simple tasks more complicated, more possible. And, I'm reading that. I'm just like, I'm saying that while I'm recording a podcast. I'm starting 30 minutes late because I couldn't get my kids to bed. Now I have one sleeping on my shoulder. I'm trying to get like, oh, that's so accurate. So like at that point, Ross was just like, kids are annoying. Like, how many people in life are like, I don't want kids. They don't see the point. They're just annoying. They just make things harder. Like, why would you ever want one? And yet, like, I can tell you right now, like, this year, being able to like have my child comforted and falling asleep on me, while having a conversation. I mean, like, there's something about that that's like, it's one of those weird, rare, beautiful moments that like I'm gonna look back on like 10 years from now, and like it's just those things that like that I don't know. They're the things that give life character that just make it worth living. It's kind of a cliche, I guess, but
there's another line along those same lines though, where Roz says, "I don't have the programming to be a mother."
No one does. We just make it up. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Yeah, and I was like, kind of. Yeah, like on one hand, it's like when I I've gone through life so often like this, thinking that like once I got there, I would just know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like I got married and was like, I don't know how to be a husband, but I guess when I get married, I'll just know what to do. Right? So when I have kids, like I'll just know how to do it. Like, and
Yeah.
that's not true.
That, I mean, no one does just make it up as we go. That's kind of in line with the parenting advice I give young couples at church all the time. Is like, hey, like if you wait to have kids till you're ready, first of all, you're never gonna have kids.
Yeah.
Second of all, if you're worried that resources won't be there, trust that God will provide. He's not gonna let your kids starve. Trust that God will not let your kids starve. If you're worried that you're not emotionally prepared, like nobody is, right? Like you have to learn this as you do it. Parenting books. The reason I think that successful parents read parenting books is not the parenting books themselves. Is that they're the kinds of people that are parenting intentionally. And so they're going to be the kinds of people that will go and read the books.
Asking the right questions, looking for the things that they can improve and stuff. They're just instinctively always trying to better themselves in that category.
Right. Like some of the best parenting.
I was just describing myself.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah.
I was just things I say
Yourself
yourself.
as
Yeah. The mustache is handsome.
No, people think you are funny.
Say more.
Yeah. It's the two best pieces of parenting advice, which is I give to everybody. Well, I guess three is like, don't wait, just go ahead and have kids, even if you're not financially stable, even if you have no much, like have kids. You're not going to regret it. And I'm sure that there are edge cases where, like, no, you definitely shouldn't be having kids. But overall, right? Speaking declaration.
Well, one of the things, like, if you think, like, the more you think, like, yeah, I'm definitely qualified to have kids, the more you definitely like, maybe you shouldn't. Like, and the more you're like, man, I don't think I should have kids. And like that makes me feel like no one's really qualified to have kids, but a person who's aware of their own deficiencies is way better than someone who thinks they don't have any.
Yeah. I mean, this is on brand, but that reminds me of two of my favorite authors and what they said about politics, right? Tolkien wrote in his letter to his son, no one, it is not the role of any man to rule over other men, least of all those who wish to do so, right? And then Douglas Adams in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy wrote about how anybody that would desire to be a president is inherently already disqualified because anybody who thinks they can is clearly delusional, right? And it's kind of the same thing with parenting. If you think you're ready, you're wrong. But if you're going to wait until you're ready, you'll never get there, The other two pieces of parenting advice that I think was super helpful was never speak to your children like their children. Speak to them like they're adults, engage with them like adults. They're smarter than you realize, and they'll pick up on this stuff. The second bit was teach them how to breathe through their emotions before they can talk. Once they start freaking out, you're like, hey, the second time I was breathe. That was the most brilliant piece of parenting advice I got. And then when our kids were little and they start having meltdowns, I'm like, breathe. And then they do it. Other parents were looking like, how did you do that? And I was like, they got to start. Like, it's already too late. You got to start before they're even speaking.
Yeah, like one of the things I was thinking of was like the scene where Roz goes and finds the other robots and sees like depressed, like opens the one up, and then is just trying to explain that like she's relying increasingly on improvised solutions, and that the process that used to happen here is now coming more from here. And then I was just like, can you explain what we're doing? And she's like, I don't know, I'm just making stuff up. I have no idea what I'm doing. Which is like, but I have to because he's relying on me. And I'm just like that's the essence of parenthood. It's just like, it is a lot of like we spend so much time thinking, but like, some of the best moments that I've had as a parent are just like when I stop thinking and I just like, level with my kids and just try to, react more. Yeah, like. You can have it's like a different type of intelligence. Like instead of like trying to, like my strong side is definitely like analyzing problems, whether it's my day job, whether it's politics, economics. Like I like to analyze problems and come up with solutions. But humans, man, like they're especially little humans, they're way more complicated. But yeah, and just that like just constantly sacrificing for your kids. Yeah. I mean, as nothing repetitive, but it's just why I love this movie so much. It's just it's someone who did not want to be a parent, then like embodying what it means to be a parent, like literally like damaging herself, like losing limbs and stuff, and just like all for a kid. Like it's what we do, and and it's worth it. And we just live in a culture today that like preaches the exact opposite: live for yourself, don't do hard things. Like what a
sacrifice your child to Moloch.
Yeah, but worst advice ever. Like and just and complete coincidence. Record high levels of depression and suicidal ideation and people on pharmaceuticals for mental health issues. It's like, oh gee, almost like the promise of living for yourself and all your whims and every hedonistic pleasure that comes to you doesn't actually bring happiness.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I've got one here. This is from Fink's bedtime story in the movie. She had all kinds of crazy ideas, like kindness is a survival skill. Yes. And you know what? She was right.
Yeah. Social cooperation.
There you go. Yeah. You're familiar with the prisoner's dilemma?
Yes.
So Jeff, are you?
I've never been.
Okay. So you've got.
I didn't want to make a judgment.
You've never been there.
Yes. The prisoner's dilemma is what do you do if you drop the stove? No. The prisoner's dilemma is an old-time experiment. You've got two people in custody for a crime, and you tell both of them individually in separate rooms. You tell them, hey, if you rat up the other guy, you will get no sentence. But if you tell us nothing, you're going to get a sentence. But if you both rat us out, if you both rat each other out, then you both get full sentences. Okay. So like it's this game theory about what is the optimal move. There's been a lot of
Dark Knight, right?
We did talk about Prisoner's Dilemma in the Dark Knight. Yeah, exactly, just like that. And there was Veritasium, YouTuber, did a video on this because they had done a competition in the 90s of computer programming where people were to mail in floppy disks of their program of how it resolves the Prisoner's Dilemma. And the first time they did the game, it was going to go for 200 rounds, and whichever program won the most rounds wins the tournament. And then the second one, and the result was tit for tat. So there were some people like, if you betray me once, I never cooperate with you again. The one that worked the best was tit for tat, which is whatever you did to me last time, I'm going to do that to you next time. If you cooperate with me last time, I'll keep cooperating. If you betray me last time, I'll betray you next time. And that had the highest result. They did another tournament later, which was instead of 200 rounds, it was just going to end at a random point. Nobody knew when it would end. And what one would end up being the best for that was tit for tat with forgiveness. If you betray me, but then the next time you don't betray me, I won't. It adds in like a forgiveness parameter where like, yeah, if you don't betray me 2 times in a row, I won't betray you 2 times in a row. Like that. Anyway, the point is that was what worked the best. And from a from my economics alongside, like, yeah, this is cooperation in action. This is how markets actually work. The prisoner's dilemma is a single event, but that's not how social interaction works. You expect that you'll probably have to interact with this person again later. With the 200 rounds, if you know that this will be your final interaction, you'll play a certain way up until that final interaction. But true social interactions, you never know when you're going to have to interact with somebody again. And so, tit for tat with forgiveness is the most efficient and long-term winning strategy. And it's what we as Christians are called to, right? Like, eye for an eye, but I tell you to the other cheek. What is that but tit for tat with forgiveness?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's 100% correct. And everyone having a role to play and things like that. It's a that's what kindness is a survival skill. It's a very unique way to sort of describe that sort of social cooperation, mindset and ethic, which is, I mean, it's part of what, my focus on. And I think, the people who make this movie are almost certainly not thinking this way, but like, I'm often trying to, flip the script on people who think like capitalism and free markets are like, it's just about greed and, getting one up on one another. And it's just like, that's the current markets. That's the current markets. Like, it's free market, like, it's, you actually have to depend on other people and can only get as far as you can get based upon how well you cooperate with others. And really, if you think about the way markets work, is that like I have to find something you need. Like, you're not going to give me any money, just to be like some charity or whatnot. But ultimately, I'm not going to be able to live unless I can work, live off the land and homestead and just provide for myself. But even then, odds are I'm eventually going to find something I can't do and I need help for. And to get that help, I'm going to have to trade something of value to get that help, and or do something of value to get that help. And it's like, so I have to find something you value and provide it for you. Even like just basic market transactions, or just figuring out what people value and finding those exchanges of mutual value. And kindness is kind of the way you operate those things. No, I think that's good. Heather?
A different bias?
Or your thoughts on kindness as a survival skill?
No, kindness thoughts.
Wildly overrated.
It's so overused and underappreciated. As someone, like, I'll keep this quick, like, I hate confrontation. So like I hate being uncomfortable when it comes to situations, especially situations that don't involve me, but I'm somehow there.
Yeah.
When stuff's going on, I'm just like, can we just stop and like just like I feel kindness all the way. Like it'll change the world.
Sure.
Pro kindness. And I think the impact can be huge. So
before you go on though, let me provide the pushback on kindness.
Please do. Yeah.
And it's something that irritates me a bit. There's plenty of examples in scripture where, especially like even just in the New Testament, where Jesus isn't kind. Like flipping tables, whipping people with belts, like that's not kind.
Would it be rude?
I think
how would you describe it?
I would consider something flipped over my table and started beating with a belt. That's kind of rude.
So Jesus was being rude.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was justified in what he did, right? And ultimately, it was a greater love that he did it for, but it wasn't kind.
But could it be seen like a righteous kindness or something like just because it made me petty, like I have a hard time calling Jesus rude. I think like because he knew the outcome.
Kind,
the Pharisees have
is it kind that
he was right though.
Is it kind to tolerate injustice and hypocrisy? I would say no. Just like it's not kind to my children to let them get away with sneaking around with things or shirking responsibilities or lying. It's not kind to them. So kindness is much more than just like saying soft, cuddly words to someone to make them feel good. Kindness is kind of like like sometimes the biggest kindness I can do on my kids is to now like when I say this, like I don't spank or anything like that, but like sometimes the kindest thing I do is like set them straight and like discipline them and to be like sorry, no, like we're actually not going to leave from this moment until you acknowledge this thing you messed up and you really stew it. Like maybe this isn't always the right approach, but I try to teach my kids to be uncomfortable. When they did something wrong, especially really wrong, or they've done wrong more than once, like I'm gonna make you sit with that. I'm gonna make you give a real apology. I'm gonna make you like, and like, I don't want you to feel bad because like I relish seeing you feel bad. It's because like you need to feel bad. You need to not like deflecting away from your shame, deflecting away from the hurt you caused someone, deflecting away from the wrongness you've done, and not stewing in it and actually absorbing it and actually like going through that. You're not growing as a person. You're not maturing as a person. You're going to be weak in character, and that's hell is probably filled with people who are completely willing to say nothing confrontational and just give you a bunch of honeyed nice words to make you feel good. But that's not true kindness.
I agree with you. Like I do feel there's moments in like as a parent, as a husband, as a youth pastor, as well. No, never infringe that ever. There are times to be firm and stand your ground and hold on to beliefs or convictions or morals, but at the same time, by standing on something that you believe that if it's scripture, if I'm standing on scripture and it's something that I need to push back on, like if I need to flip tables, say proverbial tables, to teach a lesson to someone to go, hey, stop this madness. You're more than this. Like. It's one thing just like, okay, let me say my analogy because like it's one thing to just walk by someone in the school hallway, slam their locker closed and just keep walking. That's rude. Like that's just rude for me. Like, but if you're doing something like Jesus never did anything just because. Like everything was meticulous, everything was intentional, everything was bigger than the moment itself. So like and maybe I'm just being petty. Like I wouldn't call what he did at the tables rude. In a sense, like I think it goes beyond kindness. So maybe it's not kindness, but I think maybe it's another word. Like he's going beyond and doing something to these people and challenging these people in a way where they're going to maybe leave better than themselves. So maybe it's not kindness, but I wouldn't call him rude. It's like it's an intentional like that's almost just he's teaching. Like so like maybe I'm just being too much of a stickler on wordplay here. Like I don't know if I could deep down call Jesus rude, but I could call him an intentional teacher, a firm teacher. That I don't think he was rude when he took the tables. I think he was maybe a little shock and awe, but in the end he was teaching a lesson.
Sure.
And I think those are different things. Like, rude to me is just you're being mean without purpose. Jesus wasn't being mean there. Jesus wasn't just trying to make a statement, like just trying to make a name for himself, in that way. But just like he was going, no, hold on, like let's talk, like let's witness what's going on. Like, I don't know. Again, maybe I'm just being weird about it. But
No,
that's why I have a hard time with that example. But I don't know.
I think that kind is too subjective of a word, and that's why I get squirrely about it.
Yeah,
right? Because to some people, using preferred pronouns is what's kind. I don't think that that's kind. And then even to be more like, will be loving. To some people, using preferred pronouns is loving. I don't think it's loving. So it gets. I don't know if there's a better axiom for us to be using here. But I think probably the best one is straight from scripture, which is speak the truth in love, right?
Yeah.
Season of grace. But
how often? This is more just a curiosity thing because I never really thought about it until how often do you interact with people that ask you to call them by something else?
I think mostly self-select out.
What?
they don't want to interact with me. Is what often happens.
I've never been like.
I've had a handful, and where they've said, "Can you use a different name? Like use this name instead." And I usually don't mind with that because I find names. I don't feel like for example, I used to call Jacob Daniel because I thought that was his name, right? Like that's not necessarily lying. And my son called by his middle name instead of his first name because that's what makes more sense for our family. But pronouns are a different thing. Pronouns are also something used when that person is not around. It's about controlling my speech and asking me to lie about them when they're not around. And I, as Alexander Solzhenitsyn said, at the very least, don't lie.
Yeah.
Right. So.
I've never had that interaction before.
There's always major costs to consider, even with lying. Like if you situations that you think it might make sense to lie. Like you got a lot of bad PR for this. And I don't defend Jordan Peterson as much as I used to because he's changed a bit since joining the Daily Wire. But there's a kernel of truth to what he was saying on this moment. He's on Jubilee, and they're like, "Would you lie to the Nazis if they knocked on your door and asked if you were hiding Jews in your basement?" And so even by the way, now we're 3 for 3 in movies talking about and then going back to the Nazis.
Yes.
just to bring it there. And he was like, "Don't be so sure that." Because they're like, "Well, you would lie." And he's like, "Don't be so sure that I would lie." And they're like, "Well, what would you do?" He's like, "Well, I get bloody well sure I wasn't in that situation in the first place. But if I was in there, I don't know what I would do. But he's like, I just think from the end of the day, nothing ever good comes from a lie." And like on one hand, there's like a reductio ad absurdum element to this, where like, sure, but like there's also something where it's like, there's something where it's like you got a point. Like every time you lie, it's because you're kind of trying to forestall something in reality that you don't want to deal with. But when you forestall that reality, it's going to come back and kick you in the butt, probably a lot worse down the road, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's kind of like, it's kind of the economy, right? Like it's like we don't want to face the fact that the economy is downturning. So what if we just lie and print a bunch of money and make it seem like the economy is a lot better than it is? Yeah, and then it's like it starts to downturn, and then we're like, okay, we're gonna face reality and say that didn't work. No, let's just print a bunch of money again and reinflate the bubble. And so whether it's economics, whether it's in relationships, whether it's in politics, and with our kids, and I think Jesus, when he's walking this earth, it's like, kindness is a fruit of the spirit, but it's also to be patient, right, and to be right, like it's tied to other virtues, and it's tied to a longer time frame of analysis than just like the making you feel good in the moment.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's like when you're hungover and your options are to go through the hangover or drink to ease the hangover. The wise option is to go through the hangover, not to just keep drinking.
Don't tell Captain Jack Sparrow that.
Yeah, always on the road.
Why is the mouth always going?
Anything else before we wrap up?
That's all good.
Let's wrap up.
All righty. Wrap up questions. Here we go. Just to recap, The Wild Robot 2024, rated PG. Would you recommend this film?
I would. I think I have.
Yeah, I can't recommend this movie enough.
I would also recommend it. I think it for all ages. It's wonderful.
Jake, would you also recommend the books?
So far, but if you watch the movies first, go into the books understanding that like it's different and the pace is going to be different, and there's changes. The core story is the same, but definitely the storytelling in the book is quite a different approach. And the movies have some creative licenses, and so it's like it's a movie, right? Like you have to movie storytelling is different than book storytelling. And sometimes people get so it's not exactly like the book. It's like, well, it's just the core story is the same, but the execution is different in the book.
Great. Would you guys change the rating? Rated PG?
No.
Yeah, I don't see a reason to. I mean,
no.
There's. Like I said, there's like the death of the mom and stuff like that, which is, but that's why it's PG and not G. So good rating.
Yeah, I agree. Has it aged well? 1 year. Has it aged well?
Aged like milk over the last year. No, I think it aged very well, given that it's only a year old. But I also think that the elements of the movie are going to stand time for a while. Movies that don't age well usually see because they're a time capsule that didn't age well, or because they're like a throwback to a previous era and they didn't capture the era well. This is kind of time ambiguous and relevant, and I think that the lessons in this movie are perennial. So I think it will continue to age well. Mm-hmm. And the animation is gorgeous.
Yeah. The thing that with it being a post-apocalyptic type movie and stuff, like part of me is like, well, that's they make it dated, but if you look at movies like Terminator 2, like other movies that have kind of tried to predict what the future would look like, or nuances, or even just avoid reality completely and just do something killer. Like the movie's still, well, for the most part, did pretty well. So yeah, I think it'll do fine with time and stuff. And I'd love to see just strictly. Well, hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself. Doesn't need a sequel. Would you guys want to see the other? Jacob, you're the only one that's read Beyond the First. Knowing where you're at in book 2, could you see book 2 being a good movie? Like, does this movie need a sequel?
It doesn't need a sequel. They kind of actually with the ending of this movie kind of spoiled part of the second book anyway. But, because they showed Brett Bill going and finding Roz. That doesn't happen in the first book. At the very end. But I think they did that because they were like, well, we don't know if we'll get to make more movies of this, so let's just get this part in there because that's a big payoff.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I would love to see a sequel of this. Yet there's always this thing now where I just know how hard sequels are to pull off, and we live in this day and age where it's like, oh, it's a good movie, give it a sequel, and it's like, and then it can kind of. Once the sequels are good, it can really cheapen the first one, right? But you could do it. There's been good examples in somewhat contemporary history of animated, like Kung Fu Panda 1, 2, and 3, all good, solid movies. Shrek 1, 2, and 3.
The fourth one sucks.
I was another one bad shark movie. Like, was that the third one or the fourth one?
It's the fourth one.
We're
Yeah,
soon to be fifth one.
yeah there's gonna
And
be
Toy
a
Story 1, 2, 3, and 4 have all been good. 5.
Yep, make it the fifth one of those as
Find
well.
out, I guess.
Yeah, I'm interested to see a sequel.
Just for the animation alone.
I
Yeah,
hope
I mean,
it's
like-
of the same quality.
Just to see that animation again in different areas. Like I was looking at the book covers, like one of them is him staying on an iceberg. One of the book covers, I don't know.
Mhm.
But like
That's the third one, I think.
just seeing more snow, so like a different environment would be cool within that animation. It's like it was all snow a little bit, but like I don't know what the premise of maybe, but yeah, I can appreciate the continuation of the story. So, is Bright Bill in the second one, or does Rose go off and do something else in the second book, and then Bright Bill's just kind of the conclusion of the trilogy, or is Bright Bill part of all the stories as well?
He's part of all of them.
Okay, cool. There you go. There you go. All right. So, would this be in your personal top 250?
You first, Jacob.
Yeah, I think so. It's probably my top 5 like children's family movies. I don't know if it's probably not my top 5 or like top 10 movies of all time. But well, probably top 50 for me. I think it's really good.
Yeah. It's probably my top 10 animated movies.
Yeah.
But if I'm doing of all film, it's probably roughly where it sits in the actual line, do top 250 for me. Like it's in the top 250, but like not like it's bottom third of the list.
I also don't watch tons and tons of movies, so for me saying top 50 is a lot different than you saying top 50.
Yeah. Well, also for us, it's like it would be in your personal top 250 started as a gag, right? But like now we've both like since we started this, we've done 250 movies between
Right.
our like our main show, our off 250, and then what we personally watch. So
Yeah. So for me, it's in my top 25 right now. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. Put it up in the upper echelon. It's up there with Lion King for me and stuff. Like I've never rated a movie a 10 yet. So like right now, it's in my highest.
Or 2.
Correct. Yeah.
It's a pretty tight band.
So I'm slowly adjusting my not adjusting the layering, just things shift as movies are added and stuff and as time goes on. But if there is, Clockwork Orange will be the first 2 that I rate. Like if anything gets a 2, that one will just be downgraded. If I need to widen my span, that's what most likely happen. I've not watched a movie as bad as that movie, and I don't know if I will.
Or that you dislike as much as that movie.
True. Yeah, my list is based on a lot of just what's the rewatchability. Like you got me. I rated what movies I watched.
Judgment Nuremberg you gave a 3, but then you also gave Now You See Me a 3.
Right.
And
Well, Letterboxd it would be
yeah, and then you also gave
six.
like Aliens a 3, which you hated.
So for me, like just not to be redundant, like Judgment Nuremberg, great film, impactful film, powerful film. Not one I'll ever want to watch again. So like if I'm building a list of my top 250 favorite movies, they've got to be movies that I can go back to and they would bring me joy. Nuremberg did not bring me joy. Like it was they were purpose. It was educational. Like for me, like
I'd happily watch Judgment Nuremberg again.
I don't need that movie in my life anymore to feel better or be better or to be entertained.
No, I think they just it was a great defense that was misunderstood.
What are your opinions on Winston Churchill, Nelson?
I mean, he likes cigars and champagne. Can't be all that bad, right?
I was going to say, there has to be a standard beyond just rewatchability, because my wife and I love to rewatch really horrible movies because it's so much fun.
Yeah.
Like every year we watch through 50 Shades of Grey series. It's like a drinking game for us.
No, I agree. It's like what I would put on my top 250. Like, okay, for instance, like I also would argue that Judgment Nuremberg should be on the top 250. Yeah, so like I think there's a value in it for humanity, but for my personal list of movies that I'm going to, if I can only have 250 movies, like I'm never going to touch that movie again. So that's why I have to like. I think it's good for the world, beneficial for the world. Yes, people need to know about it, but for
But if
me,
you're on an island with only 250 films that you can watch,
for me, I don't need to watch that movie ever again. So there's a notch there that I have to lower because I'm not interested. So it's fine.
I get that, but like I don't know. I've watched Schindler's List now 3 times.
Yes, I won't touch that movie again.
Never watch it again, but for me it's still like top 5 easily, because it's just like, some movies you don't watch again because you don't want to. Some you don't watch because you don't need to, because it just left that much of an impression. Sure. That, it's almost like you might watch it again, but it can't be. I don't know. It's tough. And that's why children's movies have just like you have a bias against them. Like this is like easily top 5 children's movies, animated movies for me. It's hard for me to put an animated movie significantly high in my personal rankings, just because it's not even like bias against the animation style or anything like that. It's just that they're generally geared towards kids, and there are just there's a ceiling there, I think, that they just hit up against. But this is like it's like The Lion King in terms of the classic. I think.
Agreed.
I think over time, it's also over time it might rise in my rankings, who knows? But it was really good.
Okay. Last question here: why is this movie in the top 250? What qualities about this film makes it a national, global top 250 contender?
Good question. Like I said earlier, this movie has tropes that have been done before, I guess, but I don't know. It just, for me, this movie was like such a pro-parenting movie, pro and pro doing hard things movie, and I do think that there's like, to the extent that like people are resonating with this movie, I think it's because it's like it's speaking to these very deep archetypes and I would say spiritual longings in our soul. And so I think that's whether people realize it or not. Like it's not just like a I'm trying to think of another like found family movie that just doesn't quite hit as hard. So, like I mean, I think of like Brother Bear. Like Brother Bear is kind of like finding a new family and finding responsibility, and it's not like a bad movie by any stretch of the means, but this movie just, I don't know, it tells it better. It's a grander scale, I guess, too. Like Brother Bear is just like it's me and my family, and then it's me and this bear, but like it has a limited impact. Whereas this movie is like the scale is much bigger, right? Because it's just like it's like this finding family movie in the middle of this post-apocalyptic world in the middle of this island that then is transformed through all these circumstances. And so like it's just it's a unique blending of common tropes in a kids movie with just like gorgeous animation. And again, I gush over the soundtrack. It's just such a good soundtrack. Yeah, I think that's why it belongs there. It's just it's one of the best animated movies that's ever been made, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it does some. Yeah, I think also does something that I can only think of one TV show that does it this well, which is Bluey, where like it's very obviously a kids show, but there are lessons in there for parents who are in the room watching, right? And it's less like the lessons are there for kids, but there's also some very heavy lessons there for parents who are watching to absorb as well. And I think that like in the past it was there where they'd sneak in jokes for the parents, but now it's like we're gonna sneak in moral lessons for the parents as well.
Like I was like SpongeBob would be like that for me. Like the older I get, the more and when I watch SpongeBob, I'm going, oh, I see what they did there. Like,
So that's why mom didn't like the show.
generational things. And I'm like, but I think you're right. That next level of just speaking to two audiences once is like, what are they speaking? And Bluey is very good going. Here's some adult encouragement. Here's some adult life-giving things versus just cutesy wootsy weeby TV show.
That is an incredibly difficult thing to pull off. I think,
and they do it really well. Bluey's awesome. Yeah, we'll have to in 2027 when that movie comes out. Let's talk about it. And Jacob, we'll have you back on, and then we'll talk about Nazis again.
The Armenian genocide.
Yeah. We'll bring it full circle.
First will rise again.
Oh man, but yeah. So, well, before we get on to what's coming next, anything else, Nelson? Anything else, Jacob?
I don't know. I don't think so. Also, I mean, like I'm trying to talk about, but like the robots were cool, and like the whole ending fight scene with the whole place on fire, like not only looks gorgeous, but just like super engaging comedic action all at once too. It's also just like that stuff's just like you're glued to the screen the whole time. So I mean, just another thing to glaze about in this movie.
Yeah, the way that the animals work together to fight is really fun.
It's just I mean, like
the raccoon's taking apart a robot as it's running.
It's like the comedy of like these like giant robots and just like being so like overwhelmed by these robots and just like it's not cooperating.
Yeah,
I didn't think about that until you just said this. Like, there's some nuances to the War of the Worlds in that. How like machine will come, but nature will still defeat machine no matter what. That's kind of the theme of War of the Worlds. These microorganisms are the ones that end up defeating these super mega awesome machine alien things.
Ross ends up defeating the robots by mimicking the animals.
Yeah,
it's quite dead.
Yep.
Yeah, that was great.
War of the Worlds. That's one of my favorite Tom Cruise movies.
Really?
Yeah. I really enjoyed that film.
I watched it once, but like it was a really good movie.
Yeah,
should watch it again.
I saw when it came out, and I don't really remember much.
Anything you'd like to tell our listeners, Jacob, before you have like anything you want to point them to? What's new on your podcast or website? What's going on in your world one more time?
Well, it's not video, so I'll pick it up to show you guys. So they'll have to use your imagination. But Faith Seeking Freedom. This is our flagship book here at LCI. We are working on the second edition. That'll be out sometime probably like middle or I don't know, probably like early Q2 of next year. We're hoping to have this out, and I'll be on the author byline this time. So
that's awesome.
I'm excited about that. I'm also working on writing a second book that probably will come out next year, but I need to actually find time to start writing it soon. So I'm about 3 chapters in, and I have 12 to go. So but yeah, we have a lot of books coming out. This was our end of the year fundraising thing. We're a nonprofit, so this is the part of the year where I have to actually like start remembering to like ask people like, please give us money.
If you'll send me a link for that, I'll put it in the show notes.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no, I mean we got a lot of exciting things going on at LCI and podcast. As I said, we've been doing a lot more with that. I'm definitely getting more into economics lately and talking about that. Like I just had a show with Jeff Degner from the Beasley Institute, just kind of talking about the effects of inflation on family and culture and all that, and just like it's getting tough out there for a lot of families. Like, we just talk about like a family film. Families are under attack right now in our society. It's not just through culture, not just through Hollywood. It's just also economically. Yeah, like being an advocate for the family. Those are my closing words.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, man. Hey, we can't wait to have you back on for next episode sometime in maybe next year, 2026. We only have 2 more episodes to record for this year, for this calendar year. And for the month of December, Nelson, we are doing 2 Robin Williams movies.
We've got 3 more to record this year.
For the regular podcast.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
No, not talking off 250. Because this is the last one for November. But we're doing next episode is going to be Dead Poet Society, and then the movie after that will be Good Will Hunting. So both Robin Williams 250 appearances. We're doing.
And then our off 250 next month is the best Christmas movie of all time.
No,
Gremlins.
No, I'm not arguing the Christmas aspect of it.
You just misspelled Die Hard.
We did Die Hard our first year.
Yeah.
That was the definition of terror thieves is the episode title for that one.
Yeah.
We've done Die Hard 2.
We haven't. It's not on the top 250. Die Hard is in the annual top 250. So that was in our Christmas movies that year.
Did on the off 250.
How can the same stuff happen to the same guy on the same day?
I think we maybe next year for Christmas we do that. We have you on for it. We've never had a guest for our off 250, but that'd be great.
All right, we'll pencil it in.
Yeah. Have we never had a guest for the
We've never had a guest for our off 250, but that's only our listenership for our off 250 is pretty minimal. But they make this show happen, and you can help. Links to our Patreon below.
I'm gonna make a
note.
I did like it. So I was writing a note here. Die Hard to Jacob.
Well, thank you, Jacob, for coming on and for suggesting this movie. It's a pleasure as always to have you. It really is.
Yes.
You're a lot of fun to talk to. You bring some really great insights and give you an opportunity to talk some libertarian inside baseball, which I always love.
Yeah, I'd love to be on the inside of one of those baseballs.
I'd love to know what a libertarian is.
Yeah, man, I was about to say, one of these days.
I was still trying to figure it out. It's going to be my next year. I'll do a Matt Wall style documentary for LCI. Like, what is a libertarian?
I'd watch that. I'd probably watch it twice. Yeah. This was for me.
Oh gosh.
All right, guys. All right. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did.
If you found value in what we discussed today, please consider leaving us a rating and review. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode.
If you have any feedback or suggestions, we would love to hear from you.
That's right, tell us why we're wrong.
If you want even more content and ways to engage with us and each other, check out our Patreon page.
By supporting us there, you'll get access to exclusive bonus content and help us continue to create high-quality episodes, as well as help pay for our future plans. Links to our social media, merchandise, and Patreon are in the show notes.